We're about to dive into one of the most brutal and pivotal campaigns in all of history. This is the story of how a scattered people from the vast steppe didn't just challenge the world's great empires, they literally shattered them, redrawing the map of the known world forever. So this is the big question, right? And the answer? Well, it's not just about horses and bows, not even close. What we're talking about here is a complete revolution. A revolution in identity, in strategy, and in just sheer terrifying will. And it was all driven by the vision of one single man.
Okay, so to really get a handle on the Mongol explosion, you've got to understand the world it came from. Let's paint a picture. The Eurasian steppe, late 12th century, it was not a unified place. Think of it as this chaotic, sprawling landscape of warring tribes and constantly shifting loyalties.
So you've got this fundamental tension, a tale of two worlds, really. On one side, you have the nomads. They called them the people of the felt tents. Their entire lives revolved around their herds, constant movement, fluid alliances. But on the other side, you've got these settled, powerful Chinese dynasties like the Jin and the Xia. And to them, the people of the steppe were just barbarians. Barbarians to be managed.
And this world was an absolute powder keg, just waiting to go off. I mean, you've got pressure from all sides. First, an ecological threat. A cold snap was threatening their herds, their entire way of life. Then economically, the Chinese dynasties start choking off trade, cutting them off from goods they absolutely needed. And to top it all off, politically, the Jin dynasty was masterfully playing this divide and rule game, pitting tribes against each other to make sure no single leader could ever get too powerful. The situation was desperate.
And you know what they say about desperate times.
Okay, and this is where we get to the absolute core of Genghis Khan's genius. See, it wasn't just about conquering land. His first, and you could argue his greatest conquest, was conquering the very idea of the tribe. So you probably think, okay, Genghis Khan united the Mongols. That's the story we all hear, right? But that version, it kind of misses the most revolutionary part of the whole thing. The truth is, he didn't just unite the Mongols. He created them. Seriously, before Genghis Khan, there was no such thing as a unified Mongol identity. It just didn't exist. You were a Tatar or a Kurite or a Naiman. Your loyalty was to your clan, your family, not to some abstract nation that hadn't even been invented yet. And what's so wild about this is that the word Mongol basically became a brand new political and military identity. It was an invention, a really radical piece of social engineering. The whole point was to erase all those old feuds and build one single, incredibly loyal war machine. And this is how he did it. This was the new rulebook. He completely reorganized his society, broke everyone up into units of 10, 100, 1,000, and here's the clever part. He intentionally mixed guys from different tribes that used to be bitter rivals. Suddenly, your old clan didn't matter. Your loyalty was to your commander, and above all, to the Khan. And get this, you moved up not because of who your dad was, but because of what you could do. It was a pure meritocracy. And out of all that chaos, it created this unbelievably disciplined and unified force. So you've got this new, forged nation. How do you test it? Well, with the steppe now united, Genghis Khan starts looking west, towards the huge and powerful Khwarezmian Empire. And at first, he was looking for trade, not war. But as we're about to see, a simple, peaceful exchange was about to become the spark that lit the entire world on fire. Okay, this sequence of events right here, this was just a catastrophic miscalculation by the Shah. I mean, first, his governor goes and executes an entire trade caravan. Genghis, trying to keep the peace, sends diplomats to demand justice. What does the Shah do? He doubles down, kills one of the envoys, and shaves the heads of the others. A massive insult. See, for the Khan, ambassadors were sacred. You just didn't touch them. This wasn't a political disagreement anymore. This was personal, and it demanded a devastating response. So that was it. The war they were fighting against the Jin dynasty in China put on hold. Genghis Khan gathers his new nation and turns west. And the Khwarezmian Empire, well, they were about to face a kind of warfare they were completely, utterly unprepared for. If you just look at the numbers, on paper, you'd think Khwarezm had the advantage, way more soldiers. But the reality on the ground was totally different. The Mongol leadership unified under one brilliant commander. The Khwarezmian leadership totally divided between the Shah and his powerful mother. Think of it like this.
The Mongols were a single, mobile fist, ready to strike. The Shah, on the other hand, scattered his bigger army across all these cities in static garrisons. It made them sitting ducks, easy to pick off one by one.
So the Shah, he's expecting a totally conventional attack. He figures the Mongols will come through the main mountain pass, the Jungarian Gate, and he prepares for that. But Genghis Khan's opening move? Yeah, it was anything but conventional.
This is where it just gets mind-bendingly clever. While the Shah's main army is just sitting there, waiting at the pass, Genghis takes a massive force on a journey everyone thought was impossible. 300 miles straight across the Kizilkum Desert. Can you even imagine the discipline, the sheer willpower that took? And then they just emerged from nowhere, deep inside the empire's territory, right at the gates of the rich city of Bukhara. The psychological shock must have been immense. The empire's main defenses were completely bypassed before the war had even really started. But this strategic brilliance, it was paired with something much darker. Calculated, systematic terror. Once they were inside the empire, the campaign in the wealthy province of Khorasan, led by Genghis's youngest son, Tolui, became a horrific showcase for Mongol brutality. Take the city of Merv. After it surrendered, the entire population was marched out onto a plain. The Mongols promised to spare them. And then they unleashed a massacre. The estimated death toll is staggering. 700,000 people. Then at Nishapur, it got personal. One of Genghis Khan's own sons-in-law was killed during the siege, and in revenge, the city was just utterly erased. Now, we know medieval chroniclers sometimes exaggerated numbers, but their claim was 1,747,000 dead. They said every living thing was killed, right down to the cats and dogs. It paints a picture of just absolute, total annihilation. And it happened again at Herat. The city surrendered, then rebelled. The response was even more severe. A week-long massacre followed. The alleged death toll, over 1.6 million. Look, whether these numbers are perfectly precise or not, they all point to the same thing, a demographic catastrophe on a scale that's almost impossible to wrap your head around. So this one single, devastating campaign, it didn't just destroy an empire. It fundamentally reordered the entire world, and it set the stage for everything that was to come next in the Mongol conquests. The impact was immediate, and it was absolute. The Khwarezmian Empire, gone, wiped from the map. Its territory became the perfect launching pad for the later invasions into Russia and Europe. Suddenly, the great centers of the Islamic world were left wide open, totally exposed. And the rest of the world learned a very clear lesson. The name Mongol was now synonymous with unstoppable, terrifying force. But here's the irony. This incredible victory, it also planted the seeds of the Mongol Empire's own downfall. The whole war just cranked up the rivalry between Genghis Khan's four sons over who would succeed him. It was a preview, really, of the civil wars that would eventually tear their massive inheritance apart. When you look back, this campaign was the turning point. It really was. This was the moment Genghis Khan's newly forged nation announced itself on the world stage, and not just as some regional power, but as an apocalyptic, world-changing force. Which leaves us with this one final question, doesn't it? How should history remember Genghis Khan? Was he a brilliant innovator who created a nation from scratch, who promoted trade and who ruled based on merit? Or was he a destroyer who unleashed a level of slaughter the world had never seen? The truth is, the answer, just like the man himself, is incredibly complex.